I want to bring in my good friend Judy. Judy Shelton is with us now. Judy, it looks like Mr. Powell once again has got it wrong here, no?
I don't know why he likes to throw a wet blanket over an economy that has recorded 3.3% growth for the second quarter and is poised to do even better than that the rest of the year. But I think that shows the problem when the Federal Reserve is in a position to dampen the economic growth agenda of a democratically elected president. And we've already seen the impact of lower taxes, less regulation, better energy policy, which is reducing those costs, and a more fair trade approach. And all we've been missing has been access to capital. That's very important to empower the private sector and carry out this transformation of America's economy, to provide more opportunity to Main Street and not just Wall Street.
Well, that's exactly right.
Finally getting moved the Fed.
You know, the Fed was not created to control the economy. The Fed was created to make sure that the money you earn today is worth the same it is tomorrow or even next year. That was the purpose of it. Has it just grown too big for its britches?
Oh, definitely. And ironically, after the Fed did nothing to prevent the financial meltdown of 2008, it was rewarded with expanded powers. And part of those powers have turned into the Fed thinking it is responsible for managing the economy. And that's an inappropriate role for a central bank in a free market economy. Yeah. So I really think that the Fed has the ability to intimidate banks because of the mechanism it uses of paying a hefty interest rate on their cash reserve balances. It is distorting the yield curve. I mean, even at the new rate of 4.15%, the Fed is paying on those cash reserves. You have to get a 10-year Treasury bond to match that.
Wow.
So it is causing malinvestment and distortions up and down the line. But I think the worst is that the Fed sits as if it's in judgment of the pillars of the economic growth agenda of the Trump administration. Yeah. And I even see a continued recalcitrance at the Fed imposing that program.
And by the way, that money that's being held in the central bank rather than being spent on investments includes about half of those banks that are getting paid by the Fed are foreign banks. So it's not even going to U.S. banks. I want to switch gears a little and have you listen to what President Trump had to say about plans for all that money that's been coming in from tariffs. Listen and get your reaction. Roll it.
So you talk about the hundreds of billions of dollars that have come in because of the tariffs. Would you consider, where's that money going to go? Would you consider giving it back to taxpayers while they wait for some of the things that you just talked about to kick in? Is that an option?
Politically, that's a nice thing to do, but you can do that and you can also pay down debt because we're talking about very big numbers.
So which do you like better?
Both, maybe. I mean, I could see both. I could giving something back because, look, these people have been forced to suffer for years by being ripped off by other countries, including China, and frankly, including the European Union.
So what do you think, Judy? Does this money belong directly to the tax? Should it go directly back to the taxpayers, which, by the way, would help them win the argument with the Supreme Court that tariffs are not necessarily taxes?
Well, I think that was a really smart and accurate assessment by President Trump. People have suffered. He has said that primarily the tariff revenue will be directed toward paying down debt. But by giving taxpayers some skin in the game, I think he helps to harness their support in confronting the Supreme Court decision about whether the president can invoke the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, IEPA, to justify his tariff program. And it would be a real shame if they did not support his power to do that. But I think that this way he brings more public attention to the good aspects of the revenue being generated, because it's also giving incentive to increase domestic production. Right. So that's a double bonus from the tariff program.
Judy Shelton, I wish you'd be the head of the Fed. You make so much common sense, maybe too much common sense for inside the Beltway. Judy Shelton, thank you very much. Appreciate it.